Friends, family, collectors, welcome back to another episode of Chatting with the Comic Community. I know it's been a while, but hopefully, I know for a fact things will be back on working orders. I'll have this episode out twice a month, every second Monday, the opposite Monday of Between the Lines. I'll be recording every Saturday with a bunch of people. I already have a bunch of people lined up, so don't you fret, guys. Chatting with the Comic Community is here to stay. Of course, we need to get to that 100th episode, which it'll be live with Bobby Delgado, my very first guest. But let's get some housekeeping out of the way. I want to shout out my channel members. You can become a channel member yourself, only 99 cents a month. Let's go ahead and shout them out. We got Beckerman, Legion of Comics, Sector 2815, DJ Links, Brian LCS, Gary B, the Casual Comic Guy, Papa Wheelie, Son of a Bruce, Comic Journey, Cliff on Comics, 23 Munch, Biggie Shack, Tate Prime, Ryan Riley, Scotty Z70, Billy Powermax, Doctor Von Hoot, Norn Rad, still only 35 cents, Ben Compton, Les Crucius, Drop and Drop, Nick's Kicks and Comics, Philtastic Comics and Art, G-Man, Tyler, aka Shattered Glass Reviews, Comiverse, Christina Payne, Pocan Joe, Circumstances, Electrobolt 7, Poppin' Comics 82, Spidey Guy Murph, Southern Comic Geek, Cardboard Crazies, SCA, Meatwad number 1, Agu Rhythm, Collecting with Durs, Dagger Cards, Wellbore, Taylor Winder, Hulk Collector, Black Crown Comics, El Green Machine, Rolando Flores, Not Near Mint, Nick Collects and Gaming, The Comic Vec, Easy Verse NYC, and Trevor W. I truly appreciate every single one of you guys that have become a member. But if you want to support the channel, you can also just leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're not already. It does go a long way to support the channel, and it costs you nothing. But if you'd like to become a member, feel free to do so. It's there, 99 cents. It's up to you. But that all said and out of the way, let's bring out our guest. This guest, I've been waiting to get with him for a while. Did go on a short hiatus, and he was my last guest that was supposed to be on, went on the hiatus, so he'll be my first guest back. And this guy has come into this community in a big, bad way. So let's, without further ado, you know what? Let's just get this guy out here. Let's get Dr. Von Hoot. Hoot, 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 hoot.
Evening, sir.
How is it going? Evening for you. I guess it's evening while you guys are seeing this. I'm recording it during the day, but you are where you're at. It's evening, so you are in the UK. Yeah. If I'm not.
That's right. But I pretty much just say evening all the time, just because of my weird sleep pattern. Because Mal up all night and all that.
That is fair, my man. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for rescheduling with me. I know it was a while ago that we were going to get together and record this, and I'm so happy that we're able to still do this.
No, it's awesome, mate. Like whenever's good. I'm just happy to be included in such a tremendous honor like this. Be interviewed by the great TM Nerdy. Tremendous.
I wouldn't go that far, but I truly appreciate it. So, for the viewers at home that don't know a lot about you, give them a little rundown of who you are.
Okay, so I've been around for the last year and a half-ish. I have a YouTube channel called Doctor Von Hoot's Comics from the Spiral Dimension, which I'm sure many of you know. It's primarily an unboxing channel, which I do with the Magic Badger, my sidekick and daughter. And yeah, we unbox things, usually about a 10-minute video once or twice a week, that kind of thing. And I'll pop into lives every now and again, often on Comiverse and Triple G's channel. That's about it. Oh, and I'm a Mal.
So usually I start this by asking how you got into comic collecting / reading, but I'm sure the viewers at home that don't know you that well are probably wondering what is up with the whole owl attire.
Well, about 900 years ago, I looked into the third eye of an owl, and I was transfixed and changed into this visage you see before you. A Mal, half man, half owl.
And you fight crime at night.
Oh no, I do pretty much nothing at night. Yeah, just sit around.
That's fair. That's fair. So let's get right into it then. Let's get into like your comic collecting slash reading. How did you get into it? Where was the start for you? What is more your interest? Is it more collecting or is it more reading?
Okay, so it started around. I'm dyslexic, and as a kid, I didn't read well at all. It was just really pretty shoddy. I went to a second school even to try and get my reading up, and because of that, I really didn't read at all until I mean a little bit, but really not until I was about 10ish. I went to America as a family trip when I was about, I think I was 11, 10, 11, something like that. And always loved the idea of superheroes and, you know, watching superhero cartoons, that kind of thing. Big cartoon fan as a kid, and action figures and whatnot, but never actually got to read like American comics. Like we would have the UK versions of them, they're either reprints or like our own stories with the same characters. But as I said, I wasn't a strong reader, so I'd get the comics usually and look at the pictures. I could not really actually read anything. And then I got this. We're at a gas station in, I want to say it was the desert. What's it? Death Valley. We were in Death Valley, I think, and we were in a gas station, and I saw a Wolverine comic, and I can't remember what the other one was. But yeah, it was like a 2-pack. Got that. We had a little bit of spending money, and like from there, I became slowly like into actually reading, and comics are actually a really big part of getting me to read. And now I wouldn't say I'm a strong reader, but like, I'm a fully functioning adult. So I read perfectly well. But it did take me a long time, and comics are a big part of helping that happen. Now, just after this, it was around when Spider-Man, the animated series, was out. Me and my friends, I had two friends, two best mates at the time, and they're still good mates. We became obsessed with Spider-Man, and there was a town hall had a market which had a one stall of comic books. So we went to the town hall, and they also had Hooters trading cards. So we mainly went for the Hooters trading cards, to be honest. We got some Hooters trading cards, but we also started collecting Spider-Man together. So we had this big binder full of Spider-Man comics, and that's all where it really kicks off. And it's, I've never really fully gone away from it. Like I haven't collected single issues in a really long time up until starting the channel. But I was always reading graphic novels, trade paperbacks, and digitally. So I'm always in and out. You know what I mean?
So is it still hard for you to get American comics there now? Or when was the period of time where you could actually go out and have no issues with getting physical copies of comics?
It was more to do with how old I was being the issue, I think, because it's not like we were when I was 10, like I wasn't going into the main town on my own and going to a comic shop, which did exist. Like there are a couple of them quite close to me. But once you sort of learn, you get into like secondary school and stuff like that, you learn where everything is, you're allowed out on your own, you go wasting your money in the cool shops that you really like comic book stores. So it actually isn't that difficult over here to get comics, but you do sort of need to seek them out. You're not going to walk into your average newsagents and them be there usually. You know what I mean?
So you don't have actual comic shops there. It's all like
no, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. What happened was around, I want to say the early 80s, they started springing up quite a lot, and to my local area, which is still where I grew up as well. I moved away for a long time, but to my local area, there's always been at least one comic shop available, so it's doable. Yeah, there's less of them, I would assume from the videos, than that I see from the US guys, because they seem to have like, I don't know, 5 in a town, that kind of thing from what I can tell. But yeah, usually at least one has been around. Yeah.
So you did mention like you did pick up a Wolverine comic. Was it like that was the first one you really kind of got into? Was that character? Has that character really uh, shaped how you look at comics today?
That's an interesting question. Not really. I don't think I really bought any more Wolverine the entire time. Now, I did watch X-Men the animated series, which I loved. I mean, that was a big deal to us as kids, as it was for everybody. It was an epic show, and like I liked Wolverine specifically, but the whole X-Men as a whole, I've always found a little bit impenetrable. So like I dipped my toe into the X-Men, but really I was a Spider-Man guy as a kid. Like Spider-Man was my jam when I was young. And then after that, I'd say basically Spawn and that sort of Image stuff. After that, it was like, I guess when I was about 15, 16, late 90s, that kind of thing. That's what I was into, the more sort of, pretend grown-up stuff. It's not really grown-up. It's still just silly costume cape nonsense like this.
It's the comic you want to read and be like, you know what, I'm an adult now, so I can still read this comic. It's edgy.
Yeah,
I'm not a kid anymore. So
I was obsessed. I was obsessed with Kevin Smith's Mallrats around that time, and I still love that movie. It's wonderful, but I really wanted to be Brody, like the guy that just had loads of like long boxes and was obsessed with it, like, and really felt like a bit of an outsider to it. Like I'm always chasing being that guy, but never actually achieving it, whoever that guy is. Like, and why would you want to be him? Like, I guess because he's a wise talker and gets to, hang around with Shannon Doherty.
Well, not even that. Just he got the dater, like edge of the character. So
yeah, he was punching well above his weight.
and also he has an unhealthy obsession with comics to the point where that's all he could think of and all he could talk about, even as much as how Superman can't have sex with Lois Lane.
Yeah.
So
yeah. When you've got to get Stan Lee and just to get some common sense into him, it's probably a bad sign.
I'm surprised that movie. Well, I guess comics weren't that hot back then, at that point in time when that movie came out. But that movie was like it was a flop, and it became a success later on in the future.
Yeah. Video really is where it sort of kicked in, and I guess that's where I saw it on video for the first time, and. It's an interesting one because I guess from my personal history, I have always leaned towards like fringe genre entertainment. So like, comics are a big example of that, pro wrestling, that kind of thing. And I go in quite hard on the stuff that I love, toys as well. And so that movie was really sort of a cultural set piece of just that you just wouldn't see in mainstream media usually. Like it's about this fringe entertainment that I sort of love and definitely want to be a part of, and this is the first time I'm actually seeing it played out as if other people might also do that, and it being a story point. Quite important.
So I'm going back to your Spider-Man love. Like, from my understanding from that is like you pick up like all of the Spider-Man books weekly or like whenever they're coming out. Is there any time that you wane off of Spider-Man that you stop picking them up? And also to add on to that question, I want to know your favorite Spider-Man story.
Okay, so favorite Spider-Man story is easy. It's Kraven's Last Hunt. It's the most DC of Spider-Man's stories, I think, and I say that just because it's got a bit more meat to it. Feels quite a lot darker and a bit more adult in sort of context. I actually didn't collect Spider-Man for that long. It was only for a couple of years. It was us three with this binder full of comics, and then I decided that I didn't want. It was. I'll tell you when it was. It was just in the middle of the Clone Saga with what was it called? The Final Adventure came out, and I got those 4 books, and I thought, well, this is it. It's over. It's done. Like, so, let's move on. And I did, and I effectively broke up the collection from the other two, my 2 friends, and ruined Spider-Man collecting for all 3 of us. So it's it's a bittersweet
Way
thing.
to go.
I'm quite impulsive, I guess. So really, I haven't collected Spider-Man that much. Now, since I've got back into collecting, I've gone hard into Miles, and I really, really enjoy Miles's book. So that's one of the main pulls I have regularly. I think I've got everything from the last run through till now. But I don't have Ultimate Fallout 4 yet. One day
It'll happen. It'll happen.
It'll
Keep
happen.
those sights on that goal, and you'll reach it. And I'm sure of it. Is there any other runs that you're trying to complete, or just because, like, for me, I have certain runs. I have the Batman and Robin run by Grant Morrison. I'm trying to get all of the Teen Titans run by Jeff Johns. Is there any runs that you're going after that you're trying to complete besides Miles Morales?
Yeah, Gunslinger Spawn. I got onto when I came back into comics. See, this is a not a funny story, but when I was collecting back in the late 90s, I was collecting Spawn, and I kept all my comics from the Spawn run. And the second to last issue I got was the first appearance of Gunslinger Spawn. And I read it once. I can still actually remember reading it, which is a really weird thing to say because I can't remember anything like that. But I can remember flicking through and seeing this character, putting it on a long box, it being in a cupboard for the last, I don't know, 25 years, and pulled it out and got it graded and got a 9.8 on it. So it sort of has led me on to go. The other thing is Spawn's quite impenetrable after I stopped collecting it. Like, I can't, like, I'm not going to spend all the money it would take to get all the issues that are low print run because they're quite pricey. And it's not like Spawn is that good a lot of the time. Sometimes it is, but you know, it's up and down. So it's not like I really want to read it. I'd just be buying it to collect it. So I figure I've already got the beginnings of Gunslinger. So let's get all of Gunslinger. Like, so, and I happen to really enjoy the Gunslinger book as well, which is really nice. It's a good read. It's good fun. It like scratches the Spawn itch without me having to go deep into Spawn. Is it just in it?
Yeah, then, it's not that bad. It's $2.99 too. Like, they don't
exactly.
I like that they keep it at that price point.
Yeah, and the art is always stunning, which is fun. It's a good fun book. I enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to when he goes back into the Western where he's from, because he time traveled into the future, which is where he has taken place most of his story so far. But apparently he's going to be put back into the previous time period he was in, and I quite like Westerns, so the idea of a badass gunslinger Spawn in a Western setting, yeah, give it to me. Like, into my veins. Like, let's do this. It'll be loads of fun. Yeah, very excited for that.
Now, are you excited for any of the new spin-offs that are coming? Because I know there's going to be a Sam and Twitch series. I'm actually really excited for that Sam and Twitch series, Case Files. And then there's going to be another one called Rat City. Are you going to be picking up either one of those?
I think I will probably get all of the first issues and see what it's like. And then we'll see, like, going forward. Like, I'm not going to commit to it, but at the same time, I'll have a look. And if it tickles my pickle, as it were, I will... carry on. Yeah.
And before I cut you off, you're going to say another thing besides Gunslinger Spawn that you're picking up?
I've got a bunch of stuff on my pull list. I love Batman. Like, Batman is my probably the most invested I've ever been in a character. And so I'm getting all of Batman and Detective. I'm also getting Superman, since it's been good. Basically, it's really been fun in the last year. So that's really exciting because I've never really delved into Superman outside of JLA stuff. Like I read quite a bit of Justice League, but otherwise Superman's not been that interesting to me. But I've really dug this run, so I'm very excited about that. Do a Powerbomb is the main focus I have at the moment as well. In getting everything, I literally want everything to about because it's finished. It's only a 7-issue run. I just want every variant, and I want to get them all graded because I'm being crazy. Like I want this to be the centerpiece, and I'm getting there. There's one issue of issue 1 that I cannot find. I've never actually seen it outside of one photo of it on a website. So that's my white whale, as it were. I'm trying to hunt that.
And that's good. Like even if like you want to get them all slabbed, that's your prerogative. And it's just like when you say that and the passion that you have for getting those comics because you absolutely love that story, it just reminds me of Sector 2815, who loves Crisis on Infinite Earths, has all of them in a single issues, but he wants to get them all slabbed too, and he completed that goal. So just it makes sense when you love a series that much, the story, all the characters in that, and they just you want to preserve it. You want to look at it and put it up on the wall and be like, I love that story. And every time you walk by, it can be like memory of reading it will go through your mind. So
that's exactly it. And it's different to an ongoing as well. It's not like I'm not crazy enough to be like, oh, I love Gunslinger Spawn. I want every issue of it graded in 9.8. That's too much. But I do absolutely love Do a Powerbomb just as much as anything I've ever read. And that is quite, it's a manageable amount of books, so it's doable. It's a good goal to have, I think.
Definitely doable. And it had so much success. I'm surprised that it hasn't been optioned yet. Like I'm surprised. Like it's going to happen. I guarantee you, to Do a Powerbomb is going to be optioned somewhere near in the future, and I guarantee it'll be on Netflix.
I don't understand why it hasn't either. Now, do I want to see it? I'm not sure I do, but that's another thing. But you'd think it would be with that sort of success. I tell you what I would like is an animated series version of it. Like I think animation is where you could really, like if you had the same team that did the Masters of the Universe, Revelations, and Revolution, do animation for a Do a Powerbomb series, it could be outstanding. I mean, just take all my money sort of levels. But we'll see if it ever happens or anything happens.
And
I tell you, if I ever win an insane amount of money, I'm optioning it and I'm doing that. Let's put it that way.
I think it would work better with it only being 7 issues. I think it would work better as like a 2-hour movie rather than a TV show. Because like it wouldn't. I don't know if they could, because people would expect a season 2, but if you're telling the story and you can tell it in that one season, then you're just kind of diluting it by continuing the story.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it to continue. I just want a self-contained, like. I mean, the thing is, because of the way Daniel Warren Johnson writes and his art and stuff like that, it probably could fit into 7 episodes issue by issue. Like he's quite cinematic in the way he does stuff. So you could do a 7-episode series, but you might be right in so much as it probably is better for the property if it's a movie, and that way you wouldn't get that inclination to have to do more.
So you spoke on it a little bit earlier about big influence on you is cartoons. You loved cartoons growing up. You mentioned Masters of the Universe. I want to know, and most people at home want to know. I know Roscoe wants to know. Shout out Roscoe. What were some of your favorite cartoons growing up, and what cartoons resonate with you today?
Ooh. Growing up, Transformers was the one. It was my favorite cartoon, but it was also my favorite toy line by far. I mean, just crazy. Just dropped out there. Weird. Oh. Yeah. So Transformers by far favorite toy line. He-Man was a little bit before me, so I would have been very young when it was on, and so I did watch it and I did like it, and we had a few videotapes, had lots of toys, but not it probably wasn't as ingrained as Transformers was as a kid. Then I mean later on you've got stuff like Batman the Animated Series and X-Men, like I said. Pretty much anything I would watch. Like I'm a watcher. I just watch everything that I can get my beady little eyes on. So right now, what am I watching? That's an interesting one.
Because you did mention Masters of the Universe.
Yes, I watched that earlier in the week, and that is tremendous. I absolutely loved it. I liked the previous. I don't agree with any of the criticism pretty much, other than maybe Kevin Smith shouldn't have like pushed his luck with like pretending that it was not what it turned out to be. But I love the storytelling. I love the animation. I think it's wonderful. Like the world is so brilliantly realized, and it is at the end of the day called Masters of the Universe, not He-Man. It's about everybody. And as a kid, I loved like my Leech and my, I don't know, Man at Arms. I love Man at Arms as a kid. And in that series, Man at Arms is as badass as I want him to be. So it's just amazing. Like I don't personally need He-Man constantly in order for me to enjoy that story. And it's a proper story. It's got a full, story arc. It's not just like what him wandering around waving a sword around and saving a damsel in distress or whatever. I think one of the things that I was sort of always annoyed about by a lot of cartoons as a kid was there was a very, very obvious and consistent pushback on making the villains a serious threat. Like they'd always be goofy idiots, which is why I was never a big fan of Ninja Turtles as a kid, like the cartoon, because Shredder and Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady were all absolute idiots that would just were no threat to anybody. Whereas that's why I love Transformers, because Megatron is a serious threat. You can tell he is. The way he holds himself and the awful things he does, he's a bad guy, as are the rest of the Decepticons, which is why Transformers to me resonates so much. It's about good and evil at the end of the day, and you need one of those two things to not just be absolute idiots, or else they aren't a threat. Went on a tangent there. Sorry.
No, I agree with you. Like, and even with GI Joe, Cobra Commander's not that serious of a threat as well. And you could say the same thing about Masters of the Universe. Skeletor was not that.
Yeah, Skeletor again. He's a bit of a goof. It's.
At least
Skeletor looks amazing though. But the whole of the old Master of the Universe series, I mean, it isn't great. Like if you watch it now, it's not doesn't hold up particularly well. But it's fun. It's fun throwback.
Yeah, I think what people love about that series is the nostalgic portion of it. Like I said, there is probably episodes. This is my argument with Masters of the Universe. There was episodes that you didn't like, but there was some that you liked. I'm sure if you go back and look at He-Man, there's probably a lot of episodes you do not like out of that series. Yeah. And I like what they did with this. Of course, like it did have a story arc for He-Man in this series. Like it was in the part 2 that they really dug into it, but that was part 2. And then in this new Revolutions, I think it's called, I'm only 2 episodes in, and He-Man is like center.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's really, I think a lot of the detractors of the first series, unless they're really stubborn, should probably come around to it more in this one. Like He-Man has a bigger role, and it's great. The animation is tremendous. Like you need to watch it. Everybody does. I don't understand why you wouldn't like it. Yeah, it's just cool.
So there's another cartoon that you like that I like that's kind of in the same lane as Transformers, and that's Beast Wars.
Oh yeah.
Um, so you grew up watching that. I'm surprised that like not many Gen 1 fans went on to liking Beast Wars. They were like, oh, I don't like the animation. It's not the characters I know.
Yeah.
And later on down the road, they went back and they enjoyed it. It's hard to go back and watch it nowadays because of the CGI of how dated it is. But I
Yeah.
still say you should go check it out.
I think with Beast Wars, that's an interesting one because I was around 14, I want to say ish, when that came out. So I'm a bit older, but I was also sort of really stubborn in that I wanted to continue watching cartoons and collect toys. And I genuinely loved Transformers. Like it was very like formative for me and I was very passionate about it. And hunting toys at, car boot sales and getting them secondhand, that kind of thing. I was big into collecting Transformers still. So when Beast Wars came out, I immediately bought the VHS tapes and actually watched them from beginning to end. And if you do that, you will like Beast Wars because it's good. Like that's the thing. And they do enough little bits to bring in a G1 fan to hook you. Like it's obviously the same Earth. You have like Nemesis crash and you can see Nemesis floating around in the water. You've got Ravage turn up at one point. You've got Optimus Prime and Megatron actually in the Ark at one point. You can see him, and it's it does enough tying into the original one for a G1 fan to be like, oh, I know about that, and yes, well, this is actually quite clever. And then you grow to actually like the characters, and it's a great show. I highly recommend anyone checks out Beast Wars if you were a G1 fan.
Yeah, and then they did that whole Netflix thing with the Kingdom line, which reintroduced people to not only Transformers. Well, Transformers have been around for a while, even with like cartoons and that, but the Beast Wars and like those type of characters were not. So them bringing in Kingdom and that reintroduced those characters and got a love for them, as well as Rise of the Beasts, which did fantastic in theaters and a fantastic movie at that.
It is really good. It's the best next to Bumblebee, I'd say. I think Bumblebee is probably a slightly tighter movie, but they're both very entertaining. Like I anybody that's paid any attention to me knows how much I sort of really quite dislike the Michael Bay sort of it all. It really, really hurt my love of Transformers at one point, and his treatment of Optimus Prime was sacrilegious to me. So it was nice when Bumblebee came along that I got a good film out of it. Like I'm still not taken with it particularly, but I do like it. It's a good movie, and so is Rise of the Beasts. It's a much better improvement on them. And I know I have to accept that is somebody's Transformers and stuff like that, but it isn't mine, and that's why I'll often pop up with it sucks. And I shouldn't. I should leave it alone and just let it be. But especially now that we get awesome stuff like Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers run, because that is my Transformers. It feels like my Transformers. And the toys that we've got recently, which is all like this stuff over here, that they feel like my Transformers again. It's all feels G1 inclined and stuff like that. So I'm well catered for now, whereas I wasn't when those Bay movies were huge.
I do agree with you though. I know a few people. I know one in particular that those movies were her gateway into Transformers and her love for Transformers today. But I get the feeling of like, oh, well, that's not what I'm used to in that. And it's the same way with the people that with the He-Man and the new Masters of the Universe. It's just that divide. that they feel
Yeah,
like, oh no, I want my original thing back on the screen,
my
not this
my
carbon
my
copy.
my difference with that is the criticisms for the He-Man property are a little bit unfounded because the world building and everything like that is like Kevin Smith hasn't changed the characters. Like they're the same characters, just an extension of the story, and that it's got full storytelling. Whereas with Optimus Prime, he's a completely different guy to the one that is in the cartoon. He's no longer that caring, peace loving, wonderful authority figure that you need. He's instead some like marine guy that runs into places, shooting places up, and is quite gleefully killing people for no reason. Like it's a different. It's like He-Man is the same dude. He hasn't changed in the Kevin Smith stuff, and that's where I differ on that.
Now, what was your take on him in Rise of the Beast, like Optimus Prime? Because he had that disdain for humans in this. Did you like that kind of take on him? And kind of like there would be like future movies, because now the Bay movies are kind of put aside. Bumblebee was like the kind of new refresh. We kind of get to have this growth with Optimus Prime, which is kind of cool.
I think I struggled with it the first time I watched it because of how negative he is, and it probably could have been handled better, like a more articulate. Like I think if Daniel Warren Johnson was doing the same story with Optimus Prime's character, it would be handled a lot better than it was. But I do at least like the fact that they're telling a story where he's grown to appreciate these people, and then maybe in the next one we will get a more, heroic and peace orientated hero. I would say I want a hero. It's important that he is a hero. Specifically Optimus Prime, because Optimus Prime is the tent pole that the whole of the rest of the Autobots revolve around. If that guy isn't a hero, then what have you got? You've got a guy that you've got a whole militia. Basically, that's all you've got. You've got a militia. They aren't a heroic group. They're a militia.
I agree with you. I'm excited to see where these Transformers go. I'm hoping they continue the way that they have been. I kind of do want a Beast Wars or Rise of the Beast type of movie, like a standalone movie, get more of those characters, even some of the characters that may have fallen. Because like at the beginning of that movie, we did see some of them did fall, and who else? Like, because there was a ton of characters that we didn't see, like Rat Trap, Dinobot, Cheetor was in it. Sorry, but those certain characters that I would love to see on the big screen that we didn't get.
I was surprised we didn't get Dinobot, just because he's such a big part of Beast Wars, and he's got a really interesting story in Beast Wars, and I would like them to do that. Basically, retell that story. If they're going to do more Beast Wars stuff, it would be cool to have standalone, like an actual Beast Wars movie that tells that story of, and that you can manufacture it out of the story that they've already created. It would be easy enough to do. Whether they'll do that, I don't know. Like they seem pretty driven to go completely tell their original stories all the time, which I don't really understand, but whatever. If they want to do that. My question is, are we ever going to get an actual transforming Unicron that destroys a planet? That would be amazing. I don't know whether we're going to get it, but I'm there for it. What we did get of Unicron was great. I love that. The little nods that they had with the same music that they had from Transformers the movie in Rise of the Beast was great. And just some of the dialogue that he has, it's fun nods like that. I'm all for it. I did want him to transform though. I'm not going to lie. I got to the end of the movie and I was like, we're not going to get him transforming, are we? I was very sad, but can't have everything.
So now that we've gotten like a lot of Transformers movies, like your childhood on the big screen, done right, because they did do it right in Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast, in your opinion, what is another thing from your childhood, like whether it be cartoon or maybe a TV show, live action TV show that you would want to see get a remake or redone on the big screen?
There are loads. Like, I don't understand why we haven't had an A-Team series. Like, the A-Team is such a great idea, and that we had that one movie, and then it just went away. And like that could be on TV right now quite happily. I'd watch it if it's good. But then at the same time, you've got stuff like Mask. I would love to see a Mask movie, and well, I always thought that like Mask was really underserved, and it doesn't really matter what medium we get it in. We don't really get it when we get it. It's just comes and goes. Maybe the fan base isn't there for it. I don't know, but like I think it's Mask would be a natural inclusion into the Energon universe in comics, and also in the movieverse, because we're already introducing G.I. Joe to Transformers. Mask fits very well, like transforming cars to combat Transformers. That makes sense, doesn't it? Why not? I mean, but I'd love a standalone of it. I'd love to see a Visionaries movie. Visionaries was an amazing animated series in the 80s, and it's only something like 12 episodes. Like, it's really brief, but it's really cool. I'd love more Visionaries in my life. That'd be tremendous. What else? I mean, there's loads of stuff. Galaxy High. That was a great cartoon. Bring that back. Bring everything back. Just do it right. Like, I'm fine with remakes as long as you treat the properties with respect, and then that's fine. Yeah, but Mask would be quite easy to go to.
Yeah, I never really got into the Mask at all. Like, I have no idea what it's about and stuff. I did watch G.I. Joe. That was about it. And He-Man when I was younger, but not the Mask. So I'm unfamiliar with it.
Well, it's quite similar to G.I. Joe in a way, I'd say, except the gimmick of it was that they'd all wear masks and their vehicles would transform into a weapon of some kind, a motorized weapon, and you had Venom with the villains. It would fit nicely into the universe, I think. Masters of the Universe, it's insane that there hasn't been another movie. And I think they're running out of time now as well, because I don't know. Because you've got the reason why all this stuff came out when it did is because people my age are the age they are now, in their 30s ish, 30 to 40, that sort of. So it's that time period. So that nostalgia hit is peak at the moment for that sort of era's content. And Master of the Universe is just a fraction earlier than that. So we're moving too far away from it, I think, unless they come back in a big bag way and it's really good. But the further away it gets from happening, the harder it'll be, I think. So they need to get on it if it's going to happen.
That's fair. Like, see, now, would you want that to come back as like the Mask too? I'm going to go back to the Mask for a second here. Would you want the Mask to be an animation or a live action when it to become a series?
Either. Like, Mask, I just want something to happen with it. Doesn't really matter which medium it's in. Just keep that IP alive. Like, we don't even get toys anymore. Like, it's been years since Mask toys, and I don't really understand why. They're great. Like with Master of the Universe, I want a feature film. That's what I want out of it. But like, if you had an Amazon or a Netflix throw a lot of money at an ongoing series, I'd be fine with that as well. Live action. I mean, we've already got the Master of the Universe Revolution cartoon series. Give me more of that. Yeah, I'll take. Give it to me. And there's teasers at the end of the series. I won't spoil anything because you haven't seen it or anything, and loads of people still won't have seen it all. But they do set up so that they could do another season, which would be perfect for me. That animation style is absolutely wonderful. And the music from Bear McCready is just insanely good.
I do remember hearing at one point that Netflix did have the movie rights to
Yeah.
a He-Man movie. But then they started blaming Kevin Smith of his Netflix stuff. It had nothing to do with it at all. But I don't understand why they just the script got thrown out or what
Yeah.
happened to that movie.
They had a script under development, and I think they'd spent something like 30 million on it, developing it, and then they've just thrown it away. I don't know. I don't know how the ins and outs of it. Like, I just want it to happen. I don't care where it happens. I want it treated right, and I'd quite like them to stay in Eternia and not come to Earth. If we could do that in a movie, that'd be great. Stay in Eternia, don't come to Earth. Although, like, I love the Dolph Lundgren movie as well. It's great. It's loads of fun.
I have still not watched it. I don't think I ever will, to be honest.
Really? Wow. That's a
I'll,
hard
I'll,
stance. Like, what?
I'll,
What? Why?
I'll wait. I don't know. I wasn't into it. I don't know. It came out when I wasn't even born yet. So
Yeah.
I just never was really interested in watching it. And it does look very campy, to be honest.
It is fairly campy, but it's pretty good at the same time. It's got an unfair rap. I mean, again, from the fan base, which I understand, because like the movie does change a lot of things, and like it doesn't have all the characters that you want it to have, unlike like Motu Revolution. It has new characters which they look very Star Warsy rather than Master of the Universe-y. You see what I mean? But otherwise, it's a fun watch, and I definitely recommend it. There's some great stuff with Skeletor in it, which everybody should see, because I think it's Frank Langella plays him, and he's wonderful in the role of Skeletor. It's just amazing, especially when it was made. They made a guy look like Skeletor at the end of the day, which is an achievement in of itself.
Now, who would you get to, like, because you really want to master a He-Man movie? Who would you cast as He-Man today?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure I would look for a name. I think I probably would go with someone lesser known. I mean, maybe the guy that plays Reacher. Like he's a bit like that body type it fits. I mean, he's quite wooden, honestly. He's quite a wooden actor, but I like Reacher, don't get me wrong, but he is a bit on the wooden side. It depends. It depends on whether you could get a guy to be that size and to be as charismatic as you need him to be. That's not my job. Find a guy. Like at the end of the day.
And you'd have to do cast for two different characters, right? Because you'd have to. You couldn't have definitely Reacher couldn't play the Prince. So that'd be kind of hard sell unless they did the whole Captain America thing. they did the CGI, like made him look small.
I think. I mean, you could do that. I suppose that would be doable. It depends how much Adam you're going to get in it. Really, like the Captain America thing only works really because it's quite brief at the end of the day. And if Prince Adam is a long-standing character in the show or movie, it probably would be a bit harder to do it that way. I would probably just cast a different person if it was me, but I don't know.
You'd have to get the personalities down right for both characters, or else you'll have a whole Shazam Fury of the Gods type of deal. Yeah. Where one character seems like a totally different character.
Yeah. I mean, that's all in the writing, really. If the characters are written right and the story is there, then the people will come and they will be happy. But it just depends on what effort. And maybe that's why they threw away the Netflix script. Maybe the script wasn't good enough at the end of the day. Who knows? Or maybe they just didn't think that the amount of money it would take to bring something like that and actually actualize it on screen because you're manufacturing a whole universe of it could be difficult. Having said that, I look at something like Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, you can do it with like these dragon lads. Like, let's do the same thing with Masters of the Universe. It'll work.
It should work. And then also, like, I think Netflix should be the one, either that or Prime. Either one of them should do it because, like, I feel maybe Prime has the most money to do something with that. And it having high, big name shows right now, I think they'd be able to throw money at it. But I think Netflix still has the rights to He-Man with it dropping Masters of the Universe. And at the same time, Masters of the Universe, they had another cartoon one more aimed for kids drop that was a lot worse than Masters of the Universe. You want to complain about a Masters of the Universe type of show or He-Man show, go watch that and then come back because that was terrible. That was definitely terrible.
I didn't actually watch it. It looked so bad. Like, I was just like, well, it's for kids at the end of the day. Like, if a cartoon is aimed at me, then I'm much more likely to watch it. Stands to reason. Like, and that the kids version of He-Man, much like the She-Ra, I just didn't think it was for me, so I didn't watch it. You know, it makes sense.
That is fair. So I do want to talk before because we are coming up to that hour mark and that, and I do want to have this conversation with you. You mentioned toys earlier. You collect a lot of toys, mostly Transformers. I want to know, is there any other toys that you go after? Is there a collection that you're trying to get?
As a collection, actively, I only really do Transformers. Like, and even now, I've sort of slowed down on that. I have a Funko Pop collection, but I don't really buy Funko Pops anymore. I just have them. And if there was one that I liked, I would get. And toys every now and again pop up, like this one.
Okay.
Yeah, Toxic Crusaders. I love Trauma. I love the Toxic Crusaders. I love the Toxic Avenger. And I saw this came out and I jumped on it. Like, what am I going to do with this? I'm going to put it on a shelf. It's going to sit there. But like, I'm not going to collect everything to do with it, or if you see what I mean. So it's more of a case by case basis. If I see something that I fancy, I just grab it, you know, fun stuff like that. But Transformers is the one that's more of an actual collection, if you see what I mean.
Now, do you just stick with the G1 Transformers, or do you go, like, as you can see, I have a lot of Beast Wars behind me. Do you tend to grab some of the Beast machines or Beast Wars machine toys?
Right. I'm open to anything, but it sort of has to look G1 for me to be interested, if you see what I mean. So the toys that came out with the movie, they don't really interest me because they look like the movie designs. But if they were like the G1-ish slant, then I'd be open to them. I haven't got any, but like I've seen them. They've, like, you can get an Optimus Primal that looks quite like the Optimus Primal from the series, but then I've got my original Optimus Primal still, so it's like I'm like, do I need another one? Not really. Like, it's like that. I like the way they're interpreting later Transformers or Japanese Transformers into the G1 style at the moment, which is a lot of fun. Like, there's like Bulkhead, for instance, which is a character from Transformers the animated series. That was, I don't know, like let's say 2010-ish. I'm not really sure when it actually was, but around then. He's a character from that. He's well beloved, and that art style is completely different to G1. It's very sort of cartoony, Cartoon Network-ish. And
that was Transformers Prime, right? That was like cartoon you're talking about.
No, it's Transformers the animated series. The Transformers Prime was another one. Transformers Prime was a computer-generated CG style, whereas this was 2D animation, but sort of quite Dexter's Labby looking, like that. And so the characters and the toys that from that series look like that style, which you'd assume. like, which is fine. It's just not for me because I didn't watch it. Like, I don't really, but I like the idea of getting that character and like making him look like he's from the G1 universe, which is the one that I care about more actively, and in my head is the real Transformers universe, which is nonsense, of course, but you know. So it's stuff like that. So I would buy that character. I have bought G2 versions of stuff. Like I've hang on, got it. Oh no, he's in the back there. Like G-Axis is a character that was introduced in the G2 series, which if you're not unfamiliar, Marvel ended the run of the comic line and there was Generation 2 at one point, and that's only 11 issues long, and one of the villains is G-Axis, and he never had a toy or anything like that because it wasn't a very successful series, that comic book, and it's not like it had a cartoon or anything, and at that point there were barely any toys of Transformers in the shops. They last year released a really good looking G-Axis toy, which is awesome because he's like the big bad of that, and his character was like reintroduced into the IDW comics around ish that time, so like he has more of a basis in the world. It's just cool to do that kind of thing. Like if you've because Transformers is huge. Like there's loads and loads of characters, so you can bring everything across to the G1 at some point and make it look ish G1.
You're speaking on the comics. I'm surprised I didn't ask this earlier, but did you read all of like the Transformers comics up to like the G2?
Nope. I've barely read anything. The Marvel run particularly, I have issues from it. I've got the first 4 issues and then just bits of the entire run. And I every time I've tried to read it, it's not clicked with me. Whereas the IDW run, the second phase of the IDW run, wonderful, absolutely love it. It's the More Than Meets the Eye run and the Robots in Disguise run, which also leads into the Lost Light run. Absolutely epic stuff. Really, really well done. Art's tremendous. The writing is tremendous. It's quite wordy, but you know, that's okay. They make some changes, but they tell a story whilst doing it. Wonderful. That's the most Transformers I've read, is that IDW run.
Awesome. So we are coming up to that hour mark. I want to know, man. I first of all, thank you so much for hanging out with me, having a conversation with me, and that it's been eye-opening. In that I know it's mostly for the viewers at home. I know it's mostly been Transformers, He-Man, some Beast Wars. That's all right. That's who Dr. Von Hoot is. That's his passion. That is his love. This was a little bit to get to know who he was and what he loves. I want to know a series that you recommend everyone to read besides the ones that were mentioned earlier, like Kraven's Last Hunt, or to do a power bomb. It could be new, or it could be an old story that you think people should read.
Ooh. Well, new Transformers. Like I mean, the thing is, everybody is reading that, so it's a bit of a cheat. Beneath the Trees, Where Nobody Sees. So I think they're on issue 3's coming out soon. The first 2 issues are amazing. It's a wonderful, wonderful world that they've created. So it's just sick enough. As a like that's how I would say it. It's warping something like really lovely and charming and twisting it just a little bit so that it's a bit dark. And I love it. It's really, really good. So Beneath the Trees would be my recommendation. Older stuff. That's another question. I mean, the thing with older stuff is the classics are classics for a reason. I mean, like The Dark Knight Returns is one of my favorite stories, full stop, is wonderful. I could read that book over and over again. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything unusual that I'd recommend. But yeah, I guess The Dark Knight Returns do that. Everybody should have read it if they haven't already.
Yeah, for sure. Like, what are you guys doing? Go read The Dark Knight Returns right freaking now. But I want to thank you, Dr. Von Hoot, for joining me. It's been a pleasure of sitting down talking with you. Guys, his link to his YouTube and Instagram is down below. Definitely go give him a subscribe, go give him a follow, and go check out his videos because, like you said at the beginning, you're doing a lot of unboxing videos. What can people expect from your unboxing videos?
Well, there are two primarily. There's the comic side and the Wrestle Crate side. So basically, I get a mystery box once a month, which is called Wrestle Crate, and it has lots of like autographs and fun T-shirts, stuff like that. Me and Badger love doing that box because we're big wrestling fans, and it's really good value for money as well. It always blows me away what you get out of it. That's fun, but then primarily I'd say it's just unboxing Raw and Slab comics and me explaining to a very disinterested Badger why. Yeah, that's the gist of it.
Also, I'm surprised you didn't touch on it because we did talk about to do a power bump, but you're a huge wrestling fan as well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious to know, are you excited for the Netflix Raw deal?
Right. Well, this puts me into a bit of a pickle. Okay. I refuse to give Vince McMahon money and have done since certain allegations came out 5 years ago. So it's even worse this week because of what we've learned. If Vince McMahon is out of the company and he no longer has shares, yes, I'm excited for it. Like it makes life much easier because it's not just Raw. Over here, we're getting everything on Netflix, which would make life really easy for everybody to watch wrestling because everybody has Netflix. I mean, it's a juggernaut. Now, if Vince is still in the company and still has shares, I will not be watching WWE on Netflix because I have to keep Netflix because we all watch it, like all the other content. But the least I can do is not watch and give them viewing hours until that guy is out of that company.
I guarantee you, after allegations and that came out this week, I guarantee you that he's going to be taken off.
He has resigned. He resigned last night. However, he still owns 11% of TKO, which is the parent company. And now we're just boring people with wrestling talk. But basically, until he doesn't make any money from the company, I will not financially be supporting that company.
That's fair, and that's you're right, and I'm with you on that one. I agree 100% with you on that one, and you're not boring anybody with the wrestling talk. There's a ton of wrestling fans in this community, so
yeah, I do enjoy the crossover. Like I love every sort of bit of genre pop culture. Really, like wrestling is a big side of it, but comics, movies. I've got an army of movies next to me that's just ridiculous, taking up way too much space. But I love them. Like it's loads of fun.
Who are some of your favorite wrestlers?
Whoa. Currently or in the past?
They're all in the past.
Well, currently, like it's a different question. Like when I was a kid, the Ultimate Warrior was my guy. Like I love the Ultimate Warrior. He ran to the ring, shake the ropes. Yeah, it was amazing. Love the guy, but he's also a scumbag. He's dead now, so we don't worry about it. But as a character, love that guy. Tremendous. Now, who am I into? I really enjoy MJF, Maxwell Jacob Freeman. He's great, and Badger absolutely loves him, which is basically anybody that my daughter really loves, I will automatically really like because it's fun. It's fun watching a product like wrestling with somebody that has fresh eyes. You see what I mean? Like, she's not cynical. She's engrossed in the action and the suspense, which is great. It's really makes me enthusiastic about it all. Who else have we got? I love a lot of the women wrestlers at the moment. They're tremendous. I always think that Charlotte Flair is probably the peak level of women's wrestling. That is controversial. A lot of people won't agree with me, and her booking has not been always great, but she is a very, very talented wrestler, as is Asuka. She's a wonderful, wonderful wrestler. Really like Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy's tremendous. He's the guy that walks around with his hands in his pockets. Like that doing something different in wrestling is always exciting. And he's a fun character to watch every single time. There's loads and loads of good wrestling out there. And it's just a shame that we constantly have this bombardment of negative things that they seem to do in real life. If I wasn't aware of it, it would make my life a lot easier. But I am, and therefore, it makes it a pickle. Yeah, we didn't touch on this. I had a wrestling show at my wedding reception.
Oh, yeah,
that's awesome. So that happened. We had 4 matches in the reception. In the opening match has former NXT tag team champion Mark Andrews, and in the closing match it had former Ring of Honor Pure champion and Noah champion and TNA tag champion Doug Williams. So it has some actual notable names on the wrestling card at my wedding reception, which is a weird thing to be able to say, but I can say it. It's fun. I highly recommend it. Too. Yeah, everybody should do that. Yeah. And before I get any stick for it, it was Mrs. Von Hoot's idea. Like, I did not make her do this. Okay, like I joked about it for years, and she was like, "Well, we're actually going to do it then, aren't we?" And I was like, "Okay, we can if you want," and she did, so we did. Yeah, it's very fun. You just need to wait until all your guests have had a few drinks before it starts, because otherwise they're a bit like, "This is weird." But yeah, it went down really well.
That moment in time, Dr. Von Hoot knew he made the right decision on marrying her.
I mean, I knew that already, but yeah, it didn't hurt.
Well, we went a little bit over, but that's all right. I did have to ask the wrestling question because it's something that should have been asked a while ago, because I know you're a huge wrestling fan, and I love that I did, because we got to know about that whole wrestling match at your wedding, which is fantastic and so unique, because I don't know anybody else that has had that happen. I could be wrong. There could be some people out there, but you are the first person I've ever heard that from. So thank you so much for the great stories that you provided us today. Truly appreciate you, Dr. Von Hoot. Like I said before, guys, the link to his Instagram and YouTube is down below. Give him a follow and a subscribe. Dude, anything else you want to say before we end it?
No. Thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed this chat tremendously. Yeah, let's do it again sometime. Yeah,
for sure. Once we get past 100 episodes, I'll probably be bringing back some people throughout the community, and that for future episodes. So definitely keep you in mind, my man.
Cool.
That being said, guys, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, leave a comment down below, and as always, my friends, stay freaking nerdy.